Welcome to Under the Surface. This is where we slow down and look at the patterns underneath the stories we tell ourselves. Today's chapter is called No One Will Do It For Me. And beneath that title is one of the hardest truths to accept. Real change starts when we stop waiting for someone else to step in and start taking ownership of what's ours. Welcome to No One Is Normal, the podcast where real stories remind us that none of us are alone. You can also visit the website www.bradhhill.com or www.nooneisnormal.co for resources, updates, and future podcast episodes. I am Brad H. Hill, and each week we talk about the messy, the complicated, and the deeply human moments that shape us and remain in our memories. I am not here to tell anyone how to live. I am here to offer the stories, the insights that made me realize that no one is normal, including me, because healing starts when self-honesty begins. There is a brutal truth that took me way too long to accept. No one is coming to live my life for me. No one is going to drag me out of bed, fix my habits, clean up my messes, build my confidence, and hand me the life I keep saying I want. For a long time, I secretly hoped someone would. A mentor, a boss, a partner. Somebody who would see my potential, open the right doors, vouch for me in the right rooms, and finally put everything in motion. Instead, I kept running into the same realization. Everyone is looking out for themselves. It is a dog-eat-dog world sometimes, and expecting people to step in without wanting something back is a quick way to stay disappointed. That sounds harsh, but you have probably lived it too. You go out of your way for someone, stand up for them, or open a door for them, and then when it is your turn to need something, they do an Irish goodbye, and they are gone. Worse, sometimes, they are the ones quietly closing the doors on you. Once you see that clearly enough times, you either get bitter or you get smart to it. This episode is about that concept. The moment I stopped waiting for someone else to take the wheel and decided that if my life was going to change, I was going to be the one who changed it. I want to talk about people I trusted who did not show up. I want to talk about the times I expected loyalty and got sabotage instead. And I want to talk about what shifted inside of me when I finally understood that self-motivation is not something you are born with. It is something you build, sometimes by one uncomfortable decision at a time. Now here's where this gets real. I already said the truth out loud. No one is coming to live my life for me. But the problem was not that I did not know it. The problem was that I kept acting like an exception was about to happen. I kept hoping the right person would notice me, vouch for me, and pull me forward. On the outside, it looked like loyalty and patience. Underneath, it was me handing my future over to others, then feeling betrayed when they did not carry it as I imagined. One of the clearest wake-up calls came at work. I stuck my neck out for a colleague I believed in. I helped him land a better role. I put my name behind him. Later, when I wanted to shift positions and cut back on travel, I found out he had been undermining me behind closed doors, smiling to my face while bad-mouthing me in side conversations. That experience did not just piss me off. It changed how I think about trust, loyalty, and what people are capable of when they feel insecure. Now, in my current role, I see the same thing from the other side. I conduct more interviews than I care to count, and I have seen how references sabotage people in shocking ways. Trusting the wrong person can quietly cost opportunities, and you do not even realize it until it is already done. That experience forced me to rethink what I expected of others. Support and rescue are not the same thing. People can encourage me, tell me the truth, and walk beside me. They cannot drag me uphill while I go limp and call it love when they are exhausted. This shows up loudest anywhere. Addiction or heavy habits are involved. It is tempting to put the responsibility on someone else, to expect them to pour out the bottles, police the behavior, or carry the emotional weight of my choices. At some point I had to admit a simple fact. My hands are my responsibility. No one else can decide what I pour, what I eat, how I move, or whether I show up to do the work. That realization hit my health too. Dropping 25 pounds was never going to happen because I wished hard enough or found the magic tip in a headline. I had to treat it like a project instead of a fantasy. Calories, movement, sleep. Real change is tracked over time. I know medical shortcuts exist. There are pills, injections, and quick fixes marketed as solutions. For some people with serious medical needs, those tools might be necessary. For me, chasing shortcuts to avoid responsibility would have been a dangerous mindset. What I needed was not just a smaller number on the scale, I needed a different relationship with effort, consistency in my own choices. The same pattern shows up in careers. Rejection is baked into the process. Jobs you do not get, promotions that go to someone else, emails that never get answered. After enough of that, it is easy to slide into what's the point and let bitterness take over. I have been there. I have also seen what happens when I push through that feeling. Sometimes the next attempt, the one I almost did not make, is the one that changes everything. But I only find out if I keep moving, instead of waiting for someone to tap me on the shoulder and discover me. A big shift for me was learning to say what I wanted instead of hoping someone would guess. Employers are not mind readers. Leaders are juggling their own deadlines and 5 alarm fires, sitting in the corner stewing because no one has promoted me, while never clearly voicing what I want, is its own form of self-sabotage. At the same time, I had to be honest with myself about the phrase, "it is not my job." Sometimes that sentence is a healthy boundary. Other times, it is an excuse to avoid stepping up with intention. Some people will always take advantage of those who do everything they are asked. Over time, experience makes the line between the two easier to see. At the core, the saying, "no one will do it for me," is not about becoming a lone wolf or pretending I do not need anyone. That is not the case. It is about ownership. It is about recognizing that support is a gift, not a guarantee. My life cannot be built on the hope that someone else will carry what is mine to lift. My hands, my habits, my voice, my next step, that is where my real power lives. In the rest of this episode, I want to dive into what psychology says about control and agency, then zoom back in to what it looks like in real life, so you stop waiting for rescue and start becoming the person who moves your own life forward. There is a psychological concept called locus of control. It is a fancy way of describing where you believe control in your life comes from. An external locus of control sounds like this: nothing ever works out for me. The system is rigged. Other people always block my opportunities. An internal locus of control sounds more like this: I cannot control everything that happens, but I can control how I respond and what I do next. Most of us are not fully one way or the other. We slide back and forth, depending on the day, the situation, and how drained we feel. If you grew up in a hectic or unpredictable environment, it makes sense that you might lean toward feeling like life just happens to you. When adults make decisions that slam into your world with no warning, you learn fast that you are not the one calling the shots. That mindset can follow you into adulthood, showing up as waiting for the right time, for someone to notice you, a boss to reward your effort, maybe waiting for a partner to stop hurting you, or for things to improve without doing anything different. The problem is that waiting can quietly turn into learned helplessness. That is what happens when you try to change, fail enough times, or get punished for trying. And eventually your brain decides there is no point in trying at all. Even when the situation changes and the door is no longer locked, your mind stops trying to turn the doorknob. So you stay stuck, not because you have to, but because you have been trained to believe you cannot move. Rebuilding is not about pretending you have total control over everything. You do not. None of us do. It is about reclaiming the parts that are yours, whether it is your voice, effort, boundaries, or your next step. Research consistently shows that even a small sense of control improves resilience and reduces stress. It does not erase hardship, but it changes how you face it. You see this in recovery communities, career transitions, and people leaving abusive situations. The turning point is almost always the same. There is a moment where someone decides, even quietly, I am not going to wait for someone else to fix this for me. That decision does not eliminate fear. It does not guarantee a clean path. What it does is flip the script. Instead of life only happening to you, you begin happening to life. We also live in a culture obsessed with shortcuts, hacks, fast answers, faster money, and magic systems. It is tempting to believe there is some secret other people know that you do not. Tools and people can absolutely help. Mentors help. Therapy helps. Community and coaching help. But even the best tool sits useless until you pick it up. The harsh truth and the hopeful truth are the same. No one will do it for me. But that also means no one gets to decide what I am capable of. That control stays with me. Here's the part I had to learn after I finally accepted the no one is coming truth. Ownership is not the same thing as motivation. Motivation is a feeling. It is that spark that makes everything make sense. And you swear you are going to change your whole life starting tomorrow. And motivation is great when it shows up. But it is unreliable. It disappears. The second life gets loud. The second stress hits. The second you are tired, anxious, or disappointed. What actually changed things for me was identity and structure, not chasing a mood. I had to start asking a different question. Not, do I feel like doing this today? But who am I becoming if I keep doing this? When actions are tied to identity, I stop negotiating with myself as if I were trying to win an argument. I start acting like the kind of person who follows through. That is where discipline turns into self-respect. And consistency is not built in big moments. It is built in the boring ones. It is built when nobody is watching, and the outcome is not immediate. That is where real change lives. Stack enough small wins, and you stop feeling like a passenger. You start feeling like the driver again. Taking a quick pause here. If this episode is resonating, I would love for you to follow the No One Is Normal podcast on whatever platform you listen on. Every follow helps this show reach people who might need these stories. Now let's jump back in. There was a time in my life when I kept waiting for someone to step in and make it easier. I wanted a person, a moment, a breakthrough, something that would finally pull me into the life I kept saying I wanted. I did not always say that out loud, but I lived as if it were true. I lived as if effort should eventually earn a reward without me having to fight for it, as if loyalty should protect me, as if fairness should matter more than it does. When reality did not match that belief, I then got angry. I felt overlooked, blocked, and betrayed. The part that hurt the most is that I wasn't just disappointed in other people. I was disappointed in myself. I was watching my own life stay stuck while I acted like I had no control over it. I was expecting support to turn into a rescue mission, and I was handing over responsibility for my progress without even realizing it. The truth is, nobody can carry what belongs to me. Nobody can choose for me what I walk towards or walk away from. Nobody can control my hands. Those hands are my actions, and mine only. That was a hard thing to accept, but it was also one of the most freeing truths I ever learned. When I finally stopped waiting, I started moving. Not perfectly and not all at once, but intentionally. I started speaking up instead of hoping someone would notice me. I started making changes instead of wishing for outcomes. I stopped treating my life like something that was happening to me and started treating it like something I was responsible for building. I still catch myself slipping into old thinking sometimes. I still catch myself wanting someone else to carry the pressure, to go first, to make the choice easier. When that happens, I come back to the same sentence. No one will do it for me. It is not a punishment. It is a reminder. It is permission. Because if no one is coming to save me, I do not have to wait any longer. I can save myself by doing the work, making the next decision, and showing up for my own life like I wish someone would. If you are listening to this and feeling a little called out, you are not alone. Most of us were never taught how to take healthy ownership of our lives. We were taught to follow rules, to keep the peace, and not to rock the boat. Or we were taught the opposite, that everything is a fight and you have to grab what you can before someone else does. Somewhere between those extremes is a quieter path. It is the moment you realize your life is yours and no one else is coming to live it for you. It is your one opportunity, your one life. You do not get extra lives like in a video game. Think about where you are waiting right now. Maybe you are waiting for your boss to notice you and offer you the role you want. Maybe you are waiting for your partner to change, even though the hard conversation has been sitting there for months. Maybe you are waiting for the right time to quit drinking, go back to school, leave a job that is draining you, or finally take care of your health. Waiting is not always wrong. Timing matters. But if you have been waiting so long that the waiting has become a habit in itself, it is worth asking a different question. What can I do with what I have right now? Taking responsibility does not mean beating yourself up. It does not mean pretending you should have done everything perfectly. It does not mean you caused every hard thing that happened to you. It means being self-reflective about where your power actually is. Your power is in the phone call you can make today, the boundary you can set, the resume you can update, the drink you can choose not to have, the class you can sign up for, the honest conversation you can start even if your voice shakes and tears fall. You might be exhausted. You might feel like you have tried before and nothing changed. That is real. But I also know this. The moment you stop waiting for someone else to fix it and start doing the next small thing you can control, something inside you shifts. You stop feeling like a passenger and you start feeling like a driver, even if the road is full of potholes. So ask yourself this. What goal have I quietly handed over to someone else? Where have I been expecting another person to do the heavy lifting for my growth? How do I talk to myself when I think about taking ownership? Do I encourage myself? Or do I shut myself down before I even start? What is one area where I can stop waiting and start doing today? Not in a dramatic way, but in one clear step. That step does not have to fix everything. It just has to be yours. No one will do it for you. That sentence can land like a punch or a promise, depending on how you hear it. If it feels heavy, take a breath. This is not about blaming yourself for what you have been through. It is about reminding yourself that you are not as powerless as your hardest days try to convince you. The same truth that says no one is coming to live your life for you also says no one can take over your life from you unless you hand it over. Support matters. Community matters. Love matters. Let people help you. Let them cheer for you. Let them walk beside you. Just do not hand them the keys to your life and then resent them for not driving it the way you hoped. Your goals, your healing, your peace, and your progress are built from your decisions, not anyone else's approval. You do not have to overhaul everything at once. Start small. Choose one area where you have been waiting for someone else to move first, and move yourself. Make the call. Send the email. Write the plan. Say the hard truth. Show up for your own life like you wish someone would show up for you. Over time, those small acts of responsibility stack up into something big, a life that feels more fulfilling, a pride that is not dependent on someone else's approval, a quiet knowing that you did not wait for a rescue that was never coming. You became the person you needed, and that is a kind of strength no one can take away from you. That's under the surface, not to judge the story, not to rewrite the past, but to understand the patterns that shape how we live. If something in this chapter hit a nerve, sit with it. Because the moment we stop waiting for rescue is the moment we start building a life we can actually respect. Awareness is where change starts. Just a reminder, the stories and conversations in this podcast are for informational and personal reflection only. Nothing shared here should be taken as medical, legal, or professional advice. Always speak with a qualified professional about your own personal situation. Thank you for listening to No One Is Normal. If today's message resonated with you, you can find the book No One Is Normal on Amazon and Kindle, and explore more resources at www.bradhhill.com or www.nooneisnormal.co. Remember, you weren't meant to be normal, you were meant to be you.